Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. Right now, I just turned on the live, so I'm not sure how long it might take for people to join, but let me just kind of give a brief overview of what I'm going to go over. I'm Saul Matthew of Koos Key, and today I wanted to go over a book that I'm in the process of reading, and it really kind of goes hand in hand with a lot of the journey and a lot of the content that I have here. So, you know, a lot of what I've talked about, it's all about the potential of thought. And, one thing I wanted to bring up is time and life can change at any time. And that's really been one of the concepts that I talked about. But one of the things I really learned in one of the books I read was Neuroplasticity. It talks about how our brains and our mind can change with new experiences, and it's really such an important concept. And something I really wanted to really build upon, and I wanted to use these live formats as a moment to kind of go over this concept. I think our ability to connect and attach in regards to our dreams and goals are really kind of based on our basic I would say attachment style. I've kind of gone over it in some videos, which I'll tag here at some point to this live. But one thing I wanted to talk about is attachment theory. Attachment theory is really, it really talks about how we're attached to, either parents or we're attached to caregivers. And in that process, it's depending on how our needs were met, we're able to um, create like a connection with reality and also just a connection with um, other people. So it's really important to really understand. So I wanted to, just talk about kind of, I guess, even one of my own experiences. Guilt and shame is something I've carried for a while, but as I've gone on my own healing journey, letting go of fear, I thought once the anxiety stopped, that part of the healing was over. And I realized that there was still a lot of pent up, I guess, avoidant or more like a protest type behavior. And in that process, it's important that I realize that, it's still based upon a sense of control. The anxiety was sometimes about not having control or feeling a lack of control. And sometimes the protest behavior that I think sometimes people feel can protest behavior is sometimes a form of like avoidant. And I think for someone who's trying to achieve a goal, there's obstacles and difficulties that are going to come up. And I think the biggest thing is understanding how are you going to face times when you just don't want to deal with it. So let me bring up. I actually wrote a couple of quotes down because I thought it would be really more helpful. So ReWired is the book that I kind of want to talk about, at least in this live. And it talks about avoidance can represent a choice between continuing to feel comfortable in one's suffering or take a chance at potentially growing through it. And that was on page 85. And it just really talks about how there's really like a duality of like avoidance in that, and it really talks about like we at times are okay just continuing on being uncomfortable and continuing suffering. As I've kind of talked about in other videos and lives, I've talked about like what Buddha says, the source of all to be human is to suffer, and the source of all suffering is some sort of attachment or craving. But realistically, we can be attached or even craving our normal feeling of suffering. And, and so sometimes I think when we're faced with difficult situations, people tend to sometimes recreate the world and the experiences that they know. And that's really something I wanted to talk about because I think for myself, I always felt like I was more of just maybe anxious or, but I thought once the fear went away, like what else is left? I've done the trauma, I've done the healing, like I've gone down to the roots. Why is this, other side coming on? And I realized, and it's funny, I was in the process of getting a tattoo, and in the 6 hours of pain, I was really thinking, I was kind of listening to this book and just kind of memorializing the growth and the change in my life. But I realized that sometimes protest behavior, it's more of a sense of control. It's about not sometimes having our needs met, or it's about putting other people's needs and sometimes protesting to get a reaction that sometimes we just need. Or it's a sense of fear that we're really trying to recreate. And, and I really wanted to kind of just talk about that because avoidance can really manipulate like form, yet not the actual content. So like it can keep us drowning in a familiar story where fear invalidates our own self-worth. So realistically, avoidance can really kind of manipulate our own perception of what the situation is, because you're, instead of just dealing with something, you're just like, you know what, like I'm just going to do it later, or I'm not going to deal with something. And you end up spending so much effort and so much turmoil because you're trying to keep that sense of like either the unknown, or you're trying to keep the sense of inadequacy, or just keeping up a lot of those negative biases and those cognitive dissonance that we have. And sometimes people who have gone through difficult times tend to need to escape, or they tend to need to recreate it because that's all that they know. So the reason why I really talk about some of these heady and difficult things is, one, I feel like because I'm not the only one who went through trauma, but two, I feel like other people in life have to go through their own journey to kind of figure out like what life and pain is. And I think if I can show people that, hey, listen, when things come up, these extreme feelings that we feel that sometimes are overwhelming us is normal. Like our brain is designed to feel a sense of relief. And I think for me, I kept recreating a lot of those unknown traumatic I mean, I guess there were known traumatic events, but I kept recreating a lot of those difficult situations over and over. And and I think it was really something I had to kind of work through. And one thing I realized is, so let me kind of explain it in another way. Protest behavior can, and should be examined as a messenger of our enlightenment, supporting and contributing to the essential life changes. And that was also in the book, and I thought that was super important. And that's really something that I've felt, and I'm seeing this in more and more of these healing type books, and also what I'm learning in my own um, journey of of learning a little bit more about healing, and just my own dive into a little bit of like the public health knowledge and realm. And I think it's important to realize that sometimes the shame and the guilt that we all feel is something that it might not be our own beliefs. It really might be the beliefs of someone else. It really might be a situation where we're just hearing someone else's thoughts and hearing someone else's beliefs to the point where you are believing in them, and you're recreating that sense of um, that sense of intensity and pain. And that's really why, I really wanted to normalize a lot of the journey that people kind of go through. And another thing is, by rewiring, and this is another quote from the book, is, it talks about like by rewiring our brain towards more responsible decision making, we empower to break the patterns of avoidant or protest behavior. And I think a lot of the content that I do have, it really does talk about like just go towards it. Literally just go towards like recreating some experiences. And for me, I didn't really understand why I kept doing that. And I would do that over and over. And essentially, it's desensitizing that automatic response. And that's what I really want people to understand is sometimes it's just an old program and that we just have to see the pattern. And sometimes in those moments of fear and sometimes those moments of protest, you're just like, man, why am I redoing this? Why am I feeling this? Why am I experiencing that? And I think it really allows people a chance to really want to um, find hope again. And that's really kind of important. I think the belief of hope, the belief of knowing that things can become and get better. So, yeah, I appreciate anyone who is listening. I had few people that were on and it was great. I'm really trying to change the times of these lives so that way I could reconnect and understand and also connect with some of the people who have subscribed because the channel is definitely growing. And I think, I'm also realizing that this message is not for everyone. This message is for a unique group of people who are either healing or who are working on leveling up themselves. And I think for me, understanding that, the people on the other side are also really looking for the help, but really aren't looking to become as vocal in this is, that's something I have slowly starting on some feedback. And I've realized that I need to get a little bit more understanding that, as I share more and more, I think it will help you all. But ultimately, you all are in your own journey. So for me, some of those private messages or those, messages through socials are really important. It really helps me understand what people need and people want. And for me, this is more of putting out what I believe people need. And I think the feedback I've gotten really helped. And I think day by day, if you could just do one thing, that shame and that guilt and that burden that you carry, it's just I think you can find patterns in it and realize that maybe it is someone else's voice. And how can you work on just kind of letting that go? And because let's look at it. You can either make a choice of wanting to be the most positive person in the world or the most negative person. Or some people just want to live their life right in the middle. And that's fine too. But if you're going to choose to be in the middle, be intentional with all of your actions because being in the middle is a lot of give and take. It's going from one extreme to another extreme, and it's about learning how to connect with, all parts of you. So I'm really curious, as I work and create more content for you all, it's really about understanding that you know, we're all on this journey together. I'm not I'm not really anyone. Neither are you. But ultimately, we are something special in our own way. And in the chance that we have, what are we going to do with it? Because I think the more and more people are afraid to live and the more and more people are just afraid to move forward, it makes it difficult for the people around them. And I think the more we start living, the more we start having hope, the more we start doing good for one another, starts really creating a sense of momentum, you know? Because there's people in your life that may have been the good people that you needed, the people that you loved, and those were the people that define who you are now, and I think finding that and becoming that for other people is really, really important. I think becoming a beacon of hope, and that's why I really created that, is I think that positive momentum, that positive hope over time, people will have experiences. You know what? Like things were tough, but you know what? Someone stopped and pushed my car to the gas station when things were difficult. People helped me honestly a couple years ago. I remember breaking down and literally this guy came out of his car and he literally found a piece that I needed for my battery and he fixed it. Like literally didn't expect anything, didn't want anything. He just wanted to show that there was good people out there. And that really like meant something to me. Like why would this random stranger just do good for me, and it's something that, I realized then and there, when did I start doubting the good in people? Because growing up, I believed so much. I believed in the goodness. But over time, I just forgot that. And it's funny because my name means good deeds that earn, good karma in Buddhism. And, that has been my mantra, is how do I do good? And over time, I realized that if you just keep putting good out into the world, you know what happens? Do you know what happens if you keep doing good to the world? It's like what they said about like E equals MC squared. Like every time, no, I guess not that one. I guess it would be more about every action has an equal but opposite reaction. So even if you're doing good, it might be at the sacrifice of yourself. But the thing is, because you are doing good, you're earning good deeds. And over time, if you keep doing good and you have so much good merits, luck, fortune, and all these other things just start clicking. So it's kind of like just do good, and if you just do good things over and over, and that doesn't mean be a pushover. Don't be a pushover. Like, have your boundaries, set expectations. Don't just give for people to love you, but give because you want to create some positive momentum. Don't expect anything back, but know if you do it long enough, the world's going to take care of you in ways that you'll never imagine. So it's just about doing good and being a beacon of good for others and having that intrinsic value, because at some point someone is going to be there for you at the worst possible times. And I think for me there was always someone that I realized was there. So here's the interesting part that I want to really kind of talk about. Even if that person was the beacon that caused me to believe, I'm the one who had to believe that I could believe in whatever I believed in. And so I think it's important to realize that ultimately we may put other people on a pedestal. We might believe and create a sense of like giving our power away because we need other people's validation. And I think for me, letting go of shame and letting go of guilt was really important. And I bet there's a lot of you on the other side who are carrying some of that. And I think, like, when will you let that go? When will you say that, you know what? This was this was what I needed, but this is all I need, Like it's time to let this time go and like just start working on creating a little bit more positive momentum. And I think over time what happens is people are able to find a sense of inner peace because you realize that you could only say, be Chicken Little and the boy who cried wolf to yourself over and over. Like if you say that this is, you could say that, I'm eating this vegetable and this vegetable is a poison, and you could say it 1,000 times, but your body just knows that it's a vegetable and it's going to make sure that it's going to take care of you. So I think for all of you, I really want people to just believe in the possibility. And as my little puppy's making tons of noise and digging into the thing, I apologize for any noise and what you hear. Um, but anyways, I really wanted to just have a weekly check-in. I did try earlier and I had some technical difficulties, so I apologize. And Lily, Lily, Lily. And I think I I apologize. But realistically, it sounds and it seems, because I'm in my data, that most of the people who watch this do gravitate and you come later on. So thank you for the random few that do come and stay when it goes live. And I appreciate the people who watch when you do watch, because it's really impactful. So just know that no matter what, you can find a sense of self-expectant, like acceptance, personal growth, and fulfillingness in your own existence. And part of it is learning how to let go of the fears and the boundaries that we have that's been programmed by others. And sometimes it's hard to even know what is our thoughts and theirs. And so I have to go back to what I say a lot: build a village, find a community, and work together with the people in your life. Because over time, that's the only way that you are going to be successful, is with a village. You need people in your life who are going to check the your false ego. You need people in your life who's going to boost you up, and sometimes you just need people in your life who are going to understand. But you have to understand that they are just a mirror to what's inside, and you don't always have to listen to their thoughts and feelings, though if you hear it over and over, it's like that pattern that sometimes the inner voice has within us. With that says, I think it's time to go. I think Lily wants to either go outside and then go to bed because she is being. Look, yes, I'm talking about you. She pretends like she's not doing anything. This dog is something else. I lost my train of thought. I've lost it a few times. I appreciate all of you random people who come and listen, because ultimately it's for you. Thank you so much for subscribing. Please provide feedback, and I appreciate it. Thank you so much. May you be blessed with a long life. Ahiboan, I am Kusal Matthew of Koos Key, and thank you. Please subscribe, please share, and please check out the content, as it's been painstakingly designed and meticulously thought about you on the other side. So please let me know how I can help you on your journey. Thank you so much.